Discord's Terms of Service, effective March 20th, 2022, last update February 25th, 2022. 1. Who are we? 2. Age requirements and responsibility of parents and guardians. 3. What can you expect from us? 4. Your Discord account. 5. Content in Discord services. Your content, Discord's content, other content. 6. Software in Discord services. 7. Copyright. 8. Discord's paid services. 9. Restrictions on your use of Discord services. 10. Termination. 11. Indemnity. 12. Services ASIS. 13. Limitation of liability. 14. Settling disputes between you and Discord. 15. More important stuff. 16. Contacting each other. Welcome. Discord is a place to talk and hang out. We're happy you're here. These terms set forth our legal obligations to each other. They apply to your use of our services. When we say Discord, we, us, and our in these terms, we mean Discord Inc., its subsidiaries, and its related companies. When we say services in these terms, we mean Discord services, apps, websites, and other products. When we say you or your, we mean you. If you're accessing our services on behalf of a legal entity, like your employer, you agree that you have the authority to bind that entity to these terms, and you and your will refer to that entity. We also have a privacy policy, community guidelines, and other policies that apply to your use of our services and are incorporated into these terms. You should read these policies. We've worked hard to make them simple and clear, and they contain important information about your use of our services. If you use our API, Discord's developer terms of service and developer policy apply to that use. Discord's paid services terms apply to any purchase you make through Discord. Together, these rules make Discord possible, and they matter to us. If you believe others aren't following them, please let us know. Important note, the section titled Settling Disputes Between You and Discord contains an arbitration clause and class action waiver that applies to all US-based Discord users. Please read this section carefully, as it may significantly affect your legal rights, including your right to file a lawsuit in court. Who we are. We provide services that allow you to interact with other Discord users and participate in public and private communities or servers. Our services may also include access to certain software, features, and content that you can purchase from us or others. Discord services are provided by Discord Incorporated. We're located at 444 DeHaro Street, number 200, San Francisco, California, 94107, USA. If you reside in the European Economic Area or the United Kingdom, Discord Netherlands BV is the controller of your personal information, as described in our privacy policy. Discord Netherlands BV is located at Schiphol Boulevard, 195118 BG, Schiphol, the Netherlands, registered with the Dutch Chamber of Commerce with registration number 82229864. Age requirements and responsibility of parents and guardians. By accessing our services, you confirm that you are at least 13 years old and meet the minimum age of digital consent in your country. We maintain a list of minimum ages around the world as a resource for you, but we aren't able to guarantee that it is always accurate. If you are old enough to access our services in your country, but not old enough to have authority to consent to our terms, your parent or guardian must agree to our terms on your behalf. Please ask your parent or guardian to read these terms with you. If you're a parent or legal guardian and you allow your teenager to use these services, then these terms also apply to you, and you're responsible for your teenager's activity on these services. What you can expect from us. We're actively developing new features and products to improve Discord. As part of these efforts, we may add or remove features, start offering new services, or stop offering old services. While we try to avoid disruptions, we cannot guarantee there will be that will not be an outrage or change to the services, and your content may not be retrievable due to such outages or changes. We're not liable for any such outages or service changes. Your Discord account. To access the services on an ongoing basis, you will need to create a Discord account. You can provide a username and password and a way of contacting you, such as an email address and or phone number, to access certain features or communities. You may need to verify your account or add other information to your account. Our privacy policy discusses what information we collect and how we use this information in more detail. You are responsible for the security of your account, and you agree to notify us immediately if you believe your account has been compromised. If you use a password, it must be strong, and we strongly recommend that you use the password only for your Discord account, and that you enable two-factor authentication. If your account is compromised, we may not be able to restore it for you. You are also responsible for maintaining the accuracy of the contact information associated with your account. If you get locked out of your account, we'll need to contact you at the email or phone number associated with your account, and we may not be able to restore your Discord account if you no longer have access to that email account or phone number. We may also assume that any communications we received from your account or the associated contact information have been made by you. You agree not to license, sell, or transfer your account without our prior written approval. Content in Discord services. Your content. When we say your content in these terms, we mean all things you add, upload, post, share, or stream to our services. This may include text, links, GIFs, emoji, photos, videos, documents, or other media. If we come up with another way for you to add content services, it includes that too. You don't have any obligation to add content to the services. If you choose to add content to the services, you are responsible for ensuring that you have the right to do so, that you have the right to grant the licenses in the terms, and that your content is lawful. We take no responsibility for any of your content, and we are not responsible for others' use of your content. Our services allow users to add content in a number of different ways, including via direct messages and in smaller and larger communities. Some of these spaces are public, and you share content with them. That content may be accessed by people you don't know. For example, some servers are available in the server discovery section of the app and do not require an invite link to join. Other server owners may publish their server invite link on public websites. Anyone can access these spaces. You should be aware that these permissions are set by server owners or admins, and they may change over time. Please understand the difference between posting in public and private spaces on Discord, and choose the right space features and settings for you and your content. To understand how we treat your personal information, see our privacy policy. Your content is yours, but you give us a license to it when you use Discord. Your content may be protected by certain intellectual property rights. We don't own those, but by using our services, you grant us a license, which is a form of permission to do the following with your content, in accordance with applicable legal requirements in connection with operating, developing, and improving our services. Use, copy, store, distribute, and communicate your content in manners consistent with your use of the services. For example, so we can store and display your content. Publish, publicly perform, or publicly display your content if you chose it to make it visible to others. For example, so we can display your message if you post them in public servers. Monitor, modify, translate, and reformat your content. For example, so we can resize an image you post to fit on a mobile device. Sublicense your content to allow our services to work as intended. For example, so we can store your content with our cloud service providers. This license is worldwide, non-exclusive, which means we can still license your content to others, royalty-free, which means there are no fees with this license, transferable, and perpetual. We reserve the right to block, remove, and permanently delete your content for any reason, including breach of these terms, our community guidelines, or other policies, or any applicable law or regulation. We welcome feedback on our services. By sending us feedback, you grant us non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, transferable license to use the feedback and ideas generated from the feedback without any restrictions, attribution, or compensation to you. Discord's content. Our services include some content that belongs to us. You may use this content as permitted by these terms, but we retain all intellectual property rights in our content. Other content. Other people's content. Our services may also provide you with access to other people's content. You may not use this content without that person's consent, or is allowed by law. Other people's content is theirs and doesn't necessarily reflect Discord's own views. Discord doesn't endorse and verify the accuracy or reliability of content shared by Discord users. We work hard to make Discord a safe, positive, and inclusive place, but cannot prevent you from encountering content that you might find objectionable or offensive. You agree we will not be liable for any harm caused by that content. You may report content that you think violates any of our policies. We have the right, but not the obligation, to review such reports and block or remove content at our discretion. Third-party features of content. Our services may also allow you to access third-party websites, features, apps, or other content. We provide you access only as a convenience to you, and you are not responsible for the content or services available from these websites or resources. Software and Discord services. License to our software. Some of our services allow you to download client softwares, so long as you comply with these terms. We grant you a worldwide non-exclusive personal and non-assignable license to download, install, and run that software solely to access our services. You may not copy, modify, create derivative works based upon, distribute, sell, lease, or sub-license any of our software or services. You may also not reverse engineer or decompile our software or services, attempt to do so, or assist anyone doing so unless you have our written consent or applicable law permits it. Although we are granting you this license, we retain any intellectual property rights we have in our software and services. Open source. Some of Discord services include software subject to separate open source license terms, and your use of those services are subject to your compliance with the license terms. When applicable, we encourage you to review them, as some licenses may explicitly override these terms. Third-party software and services. Our services may allow you to access apps, bots, or other products, features, or services developed by third parties. It's your choice whether to use these products and whether to participate in Discord communities that incorporate these features. And you should review any terms and policies provided by a third party before doing so. Third parties, terms and policies, and Discord and not Discords govern your use of these products or services, while these third-party services do tend to follow all policies that apply to them, which may include our community guidelines, developer terms of service, and developer policy. Discord is not responsible for products developed by third parties. Copyright. We respect the intellectual property of others and expect our users to do the same. See our copyright and IP policy for information on how to file a copyright complete. Discord's paid services. We will charge you a fee to use the basic functionality of our services, but you may be able to pay for additional features products. Discord's paid services terms also apply to any purchase you make through Discord, and you may also be asked to agree to separate terms before purchasing or selling new offerings through Discord. Restrictions on your use of Discord services. When using our services, you must comply with these terms and all applicable rules, laws, and regulations, and you must only use the services for authorized and acceptable purposes. You must also adhere to your community guidelines and other policies which contain more detailed rules about your content and behavior when using Discord. Fundamentally, do not try to do or encourage or help others to do any of the following. Don't use services to do harm to yourself or others. Among other things, this includes trying to gain access to another user's account or any non-public portions of the servers, infringing anyone else's intellectual property rights or any other proprietary rights, harassing, bullying, spamming, auto-messaging, or auto-dialing people through our services. Don't use the services to harm to Discord. Among other things, this includes trying to gain access to or attacking our systems, scraping us, transmitting viruses, or other malicious code to our services, abusing or defrauding us or our payment systems, copying our product, or using our intellectual property without permission, and misusing or reporting or has best service mechanisms. Don't use the services to do anything else that's illegal. This includes using the services to commit any crime or infringe anyone's intellectual property rights. We encourage you to report content or do conduct that you believe violates these restrictions. I can't read. Termination. You have a right to terminate. You're free to stop using Discord services at any time and for any reason. You could lead your Discord account to the user settings page in the Discord app. You also disable your account, which restricts the processing of your personal information as described in a privacy policy. Disabling your account does not terminate this agreement. Our right to terminate. Subject to applicable law, we reserve the right to suspend or terminate your account and or your access to some or all of our services, with or without notice, at our discretion, including if you breach these terms of policy or additional terms that apply to specific products. We're required to do so to comply with a legal requirement or court order. We reasonably believe termination is necessary to prevent harm to you, us, other users, or third parties. Your account has been inactive for more than 2 years. However, we will give you advance notice if reasonable to do so, or required by applicable law. You can appeal any enforcement action we take under these terms here. Indemnity. If you're using this goods on behalf of the business and legal entity and not an individual capacity, then you will indemnify and hold this good and its officers, directors, employees, and agents harmless from and against any claims, liabilities, damages, costs, including reasonable legal accounting fees related to A, your access to or use of our services, B, your conduct, or C, your violation of these terms. Services as is. You're required to offer great services, but there's certain aspects that we can't guarantee. To the fullest extent permitted by law, Discord its affiliates and their respective suppliers make no warranties, either express or implied, about their services. These services are provided as is. We also disclaim any implied warranties of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, quiet enjoyment, and non-infringement, and any warranties arising out of course or dealing or usage trade. The laws of certain jurisdictions or states do not allow limitation of applied warranties to the extent such warranties cannot be described under the laws of your jurisdiction. We limit the duration and remedies of such warranties to the full extent permissible under those laws. This warranty does not affect any consumer rights you may have under applicable law, including the legal guarantee in certain places, such as the European Union, that protects its services must comply with this agreement and rights in case of non-conformity of a product or service. Limitation of liability. We don't exclude or limit our liabilities to where it should be legal to do so. In countries where the below types of exclusions are allowed, we're responsible to you only for losses and damages that are reasonably foreseeable result of your failure to use reasonable care and skill. Our breach of our contract with you, this paragraph doesn't affect consumer rights and that can't be waived or limited by any contract or agreement. The information presented on or through the services is made available solely for informational purposes. We do not confirm the accuracy, completeness, or usefulness of the information. Any reliance you place on such information is solely at your own risk. In countries where inclusions or limits or liabilities are allowed, neither Discord, its affiliates, nor our suppliers involved in creating, producing, or delivering the services will be liable to the maximum extent permitted under applicable law for any incidental, special, exemplary, or consequential damages, or damages for lost profit, lost revenues, lost savings, lost business opportunities, loss of data or goodwill, service interruption, computer damage, or system failure, or the cost of substitute services of any kind arising out of or in connection with these terms, or from the use of or inability to use the services, whether based on warranty, contracts, statute, tort, including negligence, product, liability, or any other legal theory, and whether or not Discord or its suppliers have been informed of the possibility of such damage, even in a limited remedy provided in these terms, it's found to have failed its essential purpose. Besides the types of liabilities we cannot limit by law, as described in this section, Discord limits our liability to you to the greater of A, the amounts you have paid in the 3 months before you first assert a claim, or B, $100 or the equivalent in your local currency. Discord is liable for the conduct or content, whether online or offline, any user of our services. The exclusions and limitations of damages set forth above are fundamental elements of the basis of the bargain between Discord and you. The limitation of liability described above shall apply fully to the residents of New Jersey. What? Why New Jersey? That doesn't make any sense. What? Why are they... Okay. Settling disputes between you and Discord. Informal resolution. Most disputes can be resolved informally, so if you have an issue with the services, let's consult with each other first. Before pursuing formal legal action, you agree to try to solve a dispute with us informally by sending notices to disputes@discord.com. If you reside in the European Union, you may also be entitled to submit your complaint to European Commission's online dispute resolutions ODR platform. ODR allows EU consumers to resolve disputes related to the online purchases of goods and services without going to court. Governing law and jurisdiction. The Federal Arbitration Act, Federal Arbitration Law, and California law will apply to these terms in any disputes related to the terms of services, regardless of conflict of laws rules. Any of these disputes that are not subject to arbitration will not be resolved exclusively in the state or federal courts of San Francisco County, California. And you and Discord both consent to venue and personal jurisdiction on these courts. If you're a consumer residing in the European Union, this clause and terms in general do not affect any mandatory consumer rights you have under your local law, and all disputes arising in connection with the services under these terms shall be submitted to the exclusive jurisdiction of the Court of Amsterdam, the Netherlands, or, if you are a consumer, to a court closer to your domicile if in an EU member state. Agreement to operate. If you're a U.S. resident, you also agree to the following mandatory arbitration provisions. You and Discord agree that the U.S. Federal Arbitration Act governs the interpretation and enforcement of these arbitration provisions. Except for the circumstances described below, if we can't resolve a dispute informally, you and Discord agree to resolve any dispute or claim relating to these terms or services through final and bidding arbitration in the U.S. state where you reside. Arbitration rules. The arbitration will be conducted by a single arbitrator. Government or permitting class or representative actions that JAMS rule. Oh yeah, JAM on. These terms will govern if there is a conflict between these terms and the JAMS rule. JAMS. The decision of the arbitrator will be in writing and binding on you and Discord. A judgment to enforce the decision may be entered by any court of competent jurisdiction. You and Discord agree that dispositive motions will be allowed in the arbitration, except as explicitly set forth in this arbitration setting. The arbitration and not any federal, state, or local court or agency shall have exclusive authority to resolve any disputes arising out of or relating to the interpretation, applicability, enforceability, or formation of these terms of services, including but not limited to any claim that all or any part of these terms of services are void or voidable, whether a claim is subject to arbitration, and any dispute regarding the payment of JAMS, administrative or arbitrary fees, including the timing of such payments and remedies for non-payment. The arbitrator must follow these rules and could award the same damages in a relief as court. No arbitration award or decision will have any preclusive effect as to issues or claims in dispute with anyone who is not a named party in the arbitration. Finally, if discords or your claim is from monetary relief of $10,000 or less and doesn't request any equitable remedy, the party bringing that claim may base solely on the documents submitted to the arbitrator. Choose whether arbitration will be conducted through a telephonic hearing or by an in-person hearing under the JAMS rule. The streamlined arbitration rules governing the arbitration may be accessed at https://www.jamesadr.com/ or by calling James at 800-352-5267. The parties understand that absent this mandatory provision, they would have the right to sue in court and have a jury trial. They further understand that in some instances the cost of arbitration could exceed the costs of litigation, and the right to discover may be more limited in arbitration or a court. Other remedies. Arbitration means that you waive your right to a jury trial. You may, in arbitration, seek any and all remedies otherwise available to you pursuant to your state's law. Arbitration costs. This will pay the additional cost of the arbitration filing fee exceeds the cost of filing a lawsuit, provided your claim does not exceed $75,000. For claims that do not exceed $75,000, will also bear the cost of any arbitration fees, unless the arbitrator finds your claims, defenses, or other fee-generating activity to be conducted for an proper purpose or frivolous under the state's standards set forth in the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11. For claims above $75,000, fees and costs will be determined in accordance with JM's rules. In all arbitrations, unless otherwise required by law or the JM's rules, you're responsible for all other additional arbitration costs incurred, including attorney's fees and expert witness costs. Opt out. You can decline this agreement to arbitrate by emailing an opt-out notice to arbitration_opt-out@discord.com within 30 days of March 28th, 2022, or when you first register your Discord account. Whichever is later, otherwise you shall be bound to arbitrate disputes in accordance with the terms in these paragraphs. If you opt out of these arbitration provisions, Discord will not be bound by them. Exceptions. You or Discord may still pursue claims if they qualify. In small claims court in San Francisco County, California, or any U.S. county where you live or work, the smallest claims court and not any arbitrator or JMs shall have the exclusive authority to resolve disputes regarding whether disputes properly within the jurisdiction of a small claims court. Additionally, disputes concerning patients, copyrights, moral rights, trademarks, trade secrets, claims of piracy, or unauthorized use of our services will not be subject to arbitration if the informal notice required by the section won't apply to these disputes. Class waiver. If you're a U.S. resident, you would Discord agree that each may bring claims against the other one only in our individual capacity and not as a plaintiff or class member in any perpetrated class or representative proceeding. If this specific paragraph is found unenforceable, then the agreement to arbitrate section will be null and void if there is a final judicial determination that applicable law precludes enforcement of this paragraph's limitations as to a particular remedy. Then that remedy, and only that remedy, must be severed from the arbitration and may be sought in court. The parties agree, however, that any audit of remedies not subject to arbitration shall be stayed pending the outcome of any arbitral claims and remedies. More important stuff. You have certain rights that by law can't be limited by these terms, and we in no way intend to restrict those rights to these terms. Entire agreement. These terms cover the entire agreement between you and Discord for your use of our services. Additional terms. Where additional terms apply to our products or services, the additional terms will control with respect to your use of that product or service to the extent of any conflict with these terms. Bug reporting. We support the responsible reporting of security vulnerabilities. To report a security issue, please visit https://discord.com/security. Export control. You agree to comply with all applicable import, export, and re-export control laws and restrictions, including but not limited to those of the European Union and its member states, the U.S. Department of Commerce, Export Administration Regulations, The, the economic sanctions obtained by the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, I can't. And the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, ETAR, and will not use the services to cause a violation of such laws or regulations. Further, you represent and warrant that you are not located in North Korea on any government list of prohibited or restricted parties, or otherwise subject to equivalent restrictions as specified in the laws and regulations listed above in your country's laws. You may not download or use their services if you are located in a country or region subject to U.S. or EU government embargo, including Cuba, Iran, Syria, and the Crimea region, unless that use is authorized by the U.S. states and other relative authorities. Waiver, severability, and assignment. If we fail to follow these terms and we don't immediately act, that doesn't mean we're giving up any of our legal rights, such as acting in the future. If any part of these terms ends up being invalid or unenforceable based on a decision by any court or competent authority, thus these terms will not be affected. You may not assign these terms to anyone else without a written consent. We may assign our rights to any of our affiliates or subsidiaries or to any successor in interest of any business associated with our services. Survival. Any part of these terms that by nature should survive after termination of these terms will survive. Updates to these terms. We may decide to update these terms, 1, to reflect changes in our services or our business, 2, for legal or regulatory reasons, or 3, to prevent abuse on or of our services. If these changes materially affect your Discord use or your legal rights, will give you reasonable advance notice unless the updates are urgent. If you continue to use the services after changes have taken effect, it means that you agree to the changes. If you don't agree, you must stop using the services. Apple App Store. If you download the Discord app from the Apple App Store or use the app on an iOS device, the below paragraph applies to you. Apple has no obligation to purchase any maintenance or support for services with respect to the Discord app. If the app fails to conform to any applicable warranty, and you may notify Apple, and Apple will refund the app purchase price to you, if applicable, and to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law. Apple will have no other warranty obligation whatsoever with respect to the Discord app. Apple is not responsible for addressing any claims by you or any third party related to the Discord app, with your possession and use of it, including but not limited to product liability claims, to any claim that the Discord app fails to conform to any applicable legal regulatory requirements, and 3, claims arising under consumer protection or similar legislation. Apple is not responsible for the investigation, defense, settlement, or discharge for any third-party claim that your possession and use of the Discord app infringe the third party's intellectual property rights. Apple and its subsidiaries are third-party beneficiaries of these terms, and upon acceptance of the terms, Apple will have the right and will be deemed to have accepted the right to force these terms against you as a third-party beneficiary thereof. You represent and warrant that 1, you are not located in a country that is subject to a U.S. government embargo or that has been designated by the U.S. government as a terrorist-supported country, and 2, you are not listed on any U.S. government list of prohibited or restricted parties. You must also comply with any applicable third-party terms of service when using the Discord app. Contacting each other. If you have any questions about these terms, please contact us at privacy@discord.com. We may send you electronic communications relating to our services. Where required, we'll get you your consent before sending you direct marketing. I did it. Let's go. I read all the TOS. Let's